Hi, I'm Melanie.
And I'm Cory.
And welcome to Love 'em and Lead 'em.
Lessons and laughs with the ladies of Dog Training Camp USA.
In this podcast, you'll take away proven and practical dog training advice with plenty of stories and laughs along the way.
Join us as we share our experience from the kennel and from life.
With that, let's sniff our way into this episode.
We're back
to talk about puppy dogs.
Puppies. That's just my baby dog.
Yeah. Puppies are a little bit of our bread and butter these days.
I used to think that puppies were kind of seasonal, right? Like, oh, everybody gets puppies for Christmas and then they get them in the summer. But I'll tell you what, it has been puppy palooza. It's just nonstop. There's just puppies galore.
Lots of puppies. Thankfully, we get a piece of that puppy pie.
Yeah, because I don't want a puppy. I like them like grandma likes visits from the grandkids. Like, I love it when they're here, but I'm happy to send them home.
Because you're 1,000 years old.
That age comes with wisdom, friend.
Does it? You were just dumbstruck by a couple of geese flying by.
What about
you just pointed into the...
That's why people call us, because their attention spans are just like mine when birds fly by.
Oh, God. It's a wonder we get any work done.
Yeah. So, I'm the first line of defense here at dog training camp, and I answer the phones and people call and they're like, well, we got a puppy and it's 12 weeks old and oh my God, it's going to kill us. And I don't know what to do. And I've called places and they say, well, we don't help you with puppies until they're 5 months old or 6 months old. And to that I say, you can really screw it up a lot before 5 months.
Yeah, it's too late. It's too late by then, y'all. We're big on establishing that routine, but the age, people are always asking us about the age to send their puppies.
Or when we start training.
Yeah, when do you start training is the question we get a lot. And I mean, training literally happens the minute you take possession of that dog.
Well, our mentor, Donnie, used to say, every time you touch a dog, you're training it, right? So when we're looking at puppies and the phone call of, oh my God, what did I do?
I just got one yesterday. It was an older gentleman and he was like, I'm too damn old for this.
We hear it all the time. So when we hear those calls, as far as bringing a puppy in to work with us, we won't bring it in until it's 10 weeks. But I would prefer to start training puppies or training with the family before they even get the dog.
Yeah.
I mean, but as soon as you have the dog, that's when knowing the right way to do things or the way that's going to work for you to do things and keeping it consistent is key. So I'll start it as soon as they call.
There is a select number of things that are a little bit impacted by breed. So we typically find that a 13-week-old Papillon is not quite developmentally on par with a 13-week-old German Shepherd. And it's not necessarily a size difference. We just see, there's probably a vet somewhere listening to this and shaking their head and saying, what a dumbass I am. But I firmly believe that they don't hit the same developmental milestones
in the same timeline,
at the same pace. Now, I don't know if there's any scientific research to back that up. Probably not, but that's been my experience. So there's some limits to what we can start depending on how sturdy a dog is. But really, obviously, we can show them where they need to be pottying, where they need to be resting, which is in their crate at a very young age. So when people call us, that's kind of what we have to describe. Now, regardless of breed, we really don't start formal leash training until that
20-ish weeks is what I tell people typically.
Yeah. Now, if you have a larger breed, we might push that a week or two early, but I'd say the sweet spot is between 10 and 20 weeks. We're really not putting a ton of pressure on that dog to perform any of these crazy sit, stay, distance commands, anything advanced like that. We're just really establishing a routine.
Yeah, the thing about it is dogs don't come out knowing how to live successfully in a human home. We've got to give them that guidance. And if we're crystal clear on what we want them to do, we can communicate that to them and give them a really good, strong foundation. So when people call me and they're like, I just got a puppy 2 days ago, it's 9 weeks old, whatever the case might be, and they say, I need basic obedience and leash walking. I said, well, we got to walk before we can run. So what we're going to work on first is crate training, potty training routine, thresholds. So teaching that puppy from the very beginning in your house that just because a door is open or just because a crate door is open doesn't mean you're invited to just run right through it. So we start working on some boundaries, the thresholds, manners, waiting for their food, things like that. We help people deal with the nipping, the biting, the jumping, all of those things, how to introduce your dog to the leash. Like, we're not going to ask them to do too much, but they're not used to having a leash on. So, even that is something that has to be taught. And then again, like you said, how to rest. That's something that a lot of people miss. It's not the glamorous, sexy side of training. It's painfully boring, but it's very necessary if you want to have an adult dog that can settle on its own and be left alone at all.
Yeah, we call it kind of introduction to the leash, right? Like, we don't want to see a 6-month-old dog come through the doors and they've never worn a leash, because then that's a whole new training obstacle that we have to work through and get them used to the feedback and the feeling of wearing that around their neck. So when we say we're not starting formal leash walking or commands, it's more like we're getting them used to taking the leash on and off. And you're wearing this leash when we're going out to potty. And I'm going to use this leash to show you where I want you to go.
Yeah. And if you feel a tug on the leash, you need to like check in with the person at the other end, or you need to stop what you're doing, or you need to move. That communication through the leash is what we're introducing.
Yeah. We've had a lot of kind of older dogs out of that puppy stage where they venture more into teenagery type of a stage after that 20-week mark. And the ones that haven't been introduced to the leash, they're pancaking, they're gator rolling, they're throwing fits.
You're painting a beautiful picture. Poor dog has never had a leash on and it's paralyzed and it collapses to the floor.
Yeah. I mean, we just went out to a house where a guy was carrying around his German Shepherd puppy. And we were like, dude,
you got to put that dog on the floor, man.
You ain't going to be able to carry her much longer, man. Yeah. What are you doing? So those are some things. And thankfully, the dog was only, I think, 12 weeks old. Yeah. So it was no big deal.
Very little.
But, those are some funny things that put that into perspective for somebody. They're like, oh, yeah, okay. Like,
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can head off a lot of problems before they even start by doing some of those foundational things at that young of an age. So when they've called me and they say, well, they won't help me until the dog is 5 months, I'm like, oh, we can do a lot. We can do a lot of foundational work and make your lives easier in your household.
That's a lot of poop to clean up.
Right? We can make your house function a lot easier and more smoothly for you by doing a couple of these easy things with your puppy, just from the minute you get it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. So we kind of have two tracks that people go into in our puppy training. What are those two things?
Yeah. So it really depends on the person, what they want to do. When we're talking little baby puppies, if we do a lesson, really most of the work that we're doing is teaching the humans in the household what to do and what kind of routine is going to make their dog successful and make their lives easier, and make sure that there's clear communication so that nobody's frustrated. The dog's not frustrated. The humans aren't frustrated. Everybody's doing well. So we do either a puppy lesson where we go out to their home and kind of down and dirty, here's what you do. Here's how you crate train. Here's what I would do for potty training. Here's how to feed them. Here's how to play with them. Here's how to put them down for a night-night. Yeah. It's very important. We talk a lot about freedom in the house, how much freedom is appropriate, what are the struggles you're having, and how to combat those and get everybody back on track. So we can do that in a lesson. We just tell them what to do and show them with the dog. They're on their own, off and running until they're ready for the next phase, which, maybe might be 20 weeks or older. And then we can start some more formal obedience and things. Or they can come to puppy camp. I love puppy camp. Puppy camp is 2 weeks with
Puppy
us.
camp is like a damn circus.
Puppy camp is, like I said, it's like grandma's house. Like, come to grandma's house for 2 weeks, baby boy, and we'll get you all fixed up and then we'll send you home.
Yep.
So I love puppy campers because that lets me get my fix without having a puppy.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a little bit messy at puppy camp when we're trying to show these kiddos where they're supposed to be pottying. But I would say our success rate with sending dogs home just from puppy camp that are potty trainers is,
I just got a love note just a minute ago,
like
about how great
99% range.
Yeah, how great the puppy's doing. So, but the key is that the owner follows through. And that's the key to anything in the dog world. Like, the owner has to do it too. So that's why we're very clear, like, do this, this, and this, and you'll be fine. And so we look at it as a partnership. And when that dog goes home, the humans are given every tool that they need to continue and be successful until they're ready for the next steps. You want me to tell you about a puppy lesson I just had?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a silky terrier. It came from Mexico. Its name is Cloudy. And oh my gosh, this dog is stinking cute. It looks
Cloudy with a chance of cutie patootie.
Cloudy with a chance of poop on the floor.
on the grass pad.
Yeah, poop on the grass pad. So Cloudy's parents. So let me just say this up front. I don't care where your dog potties. It's your own house. It's your own dog. You do whatever you want to do. But for us at camp, we only train dogs to go potty outside. So
because it's just cleaner and we're not going to,
we don't have the type of facility where we can train an indoor potty spot. Like, that's just not going to happen.
Well, and it's
at our
not
kennel.
a request we get all the time.
No,
so it's
not frequently.
No.
So this particular family has a little grass pad that they want their dog to go potty on. And the dog is like 3 pounds. So I'm like, well, I don't care what you guys do. No, I wouldn't take that dog out in the 5 inches of snow either. It wouldn't even be able to see. It would just sink right in.
Yeah.
So they were trying to decide between the two services, a lesson, puppy lesson, or puppy camp. And after talking about it, talking about how they want long-term for the dog to be going potty, we decided together that camp was probably not the best option for them. So instead, I went out and did a lesson. And their concerns, they've never had a puppy before. And their concerns were typical of pretty much anybody that gets a puppy. He's going pee on the pad, but not poop. He's chewing, or she, I'm sorry, is chewing on the furniture. Just the same stuff that we all deal with. The kids run and she bites their feet, just all that normal stuff. And so I said, okay, I'll come out and do a lesson. So I go out and I ring the doorbell. And Melanie's laughing because I've already told her this story. So I ring the doorbell and the whole front of the house is like glass, like beautiful. It's a beautiful home, glass windows and glass front door. And I ring the doorbell and here comes Cloudy, just Cloudy.
With no humans
in sight, but this little 3 pound
How old was this dog?
terrier. Well, they said the dog is 5 months, but when I actually looked at the dog, I was like, I don't think so. I mean, she still has her baby teeth. She's so tiny. I don't know.
She lost any teeth?
It didn't look like it. So anyway, I don't know. The details are sketchy,
as always.
But she's very little. And when she showed up at the door by herself, she came in, she looked at me, and she sat at the door from the other side of the door. And I literally was like, hi, Cloudy, could you go get your mom? And she just looked up at me. And guess what?
What?
I knew what the problem was right then.
You are so smart.
Do you have any guesses, Mel, what the problem was?
That nobody trained her how to answer the door.
Yeah. Well, she was too short to answer. She couldn't reach the doorknob. That's the problem. No, the problem was that she has way too much freedom. Way, 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 way too much freedom. And without some direction, she just didn't know what to do with herself. So, I mean, the problem was clear before I even entered the house. And when I kind of chuckled and told the humans that, they just died laughing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
Light bulb moment.
yeah, the light bulb went off. So I went in and they were using their crate, but they weren't using it during the daytime. The dog would sleep in it at night. It doesn't make a peep. The crate training is great, but what would you say, Melanie, are our two favorite tools for working with puppies and managing puppies?
Leash in the crate.
Yeah, the leash and the crate. That's what our main two tools are for these guys. So they're using the crate. They were not using the leash. So we clipped a leash on her and I showed them how to give her some boundaries, kind of put her on the leg of the kitchen chair when you're in the kitchen working and
Yeah.
hold the leash and stop her from chasing the girls when it's not appropriate. I showed her how to use the leash to guide the dog into the potty spot
Mhm.
and how to do a potty party. You want to explain a potty party?
You take the dog to where you want it to go potty and you pretty much ignore it and you don't look at it. You let it run around. And when it potties, that unlocks all of your attention and affection. And we call it a potty party. I don't know why somebody started calling it that. And that's how the dog learns. If they have too much freedom, they're not going to make the right choice of where to potty, which was the other thing I was going to ask you. We tell people to use leashes in the house a lot and that we always get some resistance there. But when people see how well it works, they're a little more open to it. And it is kind of a pain in the ass hassle to have that in your house. The dog gets caught on crap, you trip on it, whatever. But it's kind of a game-changing tool when they're learning how to live in your house. You have a giant space and a teeny tiny 3-pound puppy. That thing it's going to get in some trouble.
Well, and it's a needle in a haystack. I mean, you can't, like this little dog, I couldn't even find her. I was like, where did she go? So she's dragging a leash. The thing that we always make sure we explain to people is please only use the leash in the house with supervision,
Yeah.
right? We're not going to put the dog on a leash and then leave it in the kitchen or just in the living room and then go watch a movie and leave it there. Like bad things can happen. So all of these things are with supervision. We're not putting the leash on it and putting it in the crate, things like that. But using that leash to really show the dog, here's where I want you to be. Here's where I want you to stay.
Here's where you don't go, or
Yeah.
you don't chew on the chair leg, you chew on this bone I'm giving you, or those are, just other examples of when we say boundaries. Those are some boundaries that we're help setting with the leash. So you don't run after the kids when they run by, but you can chase a ball.
Yeah.
Those are some good alternative behaviors that we encourage.
So I went over the leash in the house, explained, it's too much freedom, showing them how to take it to where you want it to go. How if Cloudy doesn't poop on the grass pad, you put Cloudy back in the crate if you know she has to go, and you try it again in a few minutes and back and forth until you're successful. And then that poop means potty party. And then she gets to go have fun for a little bit.
Yeah.
So potty is the key to freedom here.
Ticket to freedom. The other important thing that we're sometimes met with some resistance is that feeding schedule. We spend a lot of time at camp on getting the dog used to the bowl comes down with your food in it. You eat all of it, and then we pick it up in a matter of usually 10 or 15 minutes. And that makes their bowel movements way more predictable. It makes your life just so much easier than leaving food down. And some people feed their dogs free feeding their whole lives where they just leave food down with a bowl and they have no issues at all. But when we find with puppy training, it's a pretty integral piece of showing them where to go and getting their brains right.
Well, and it establishes all the good things come from mom and dad.
Yep.
So they're always looking to you for the next good thing. So I worked with this family. They were kind of mind blown and they just laughed and laughed. And they're like, we just had no idea what to do with this puppy. And they haven't had it very long, a couple weeks. And so they were super thankful and they said, okay, we can take it from here, I think. So, again, the puppy session wasn't me teaching Cloudy where to go potty.
Yeah.
It was me teaching Cloudy's parents how to teach Cloudy to go potty in a certain spot. So that's what I mean. Like, if we waited 3 or 4 more months and the dog is pooping all over the house for that long, it's that much harder to get her back on track.
Yeah.
So when we start with 8, 9, 10-week-old puppies, it's much, much easier to get it going.
Yeah. It becomes a way bigger project when they get a couple of months of age on them.
We'll have to do a whole session or a whole podcast just on adult potty training cases. Those are things of nightmares.
Don't make me relive it.
So that's kind of what we do at a puppy training session. So people they work from home. So training their puppy or working with their puppy with regularity throughout the day is much easier for them than somebody that's working a 9 to 5. Or, we have second and third shift workers that call us and they're like, oh my God, what did I do? I got this puppy and I'm not even home and I'm asleep all day and I'm up all night. So do you want to talk about kind of what we do at camp to help those kind of situations?
The day at camp is pretty much the dogs are just in and out of their crates all day. These guys got to be shown, here's your bed. Here's what you do when you're in your bed. You lay down, take a night-night, or you can chew on a bone. Those are kind of your 2 choices. So we build in the routine of basically potty, play, rest, and we kind of rinse and repeat that all day long. So the first thing that they do when they come out of their crate is potty. And if you remember, pottying is the ticket to freedom. So if they go potty, then the very next step of that routine is playing. And because they're so small and a lot of them basically are like newborns to toddler age, if you compare it to a human child, they don't have the stamina to be up and around, moving around with you all day. And most dogs, I'd say, you rinse and repeat, potty, play, rest a couple times in your day. I don't know, Cory, 3 to 5 times in a day.
Yeah, I'd say.
Maybe more, depending on the dog. Then you're going to get good long stretches of rest out of your puppy. We're talking 6 to 8 hours, maybe more, maybe less, depending on how far along in their potty training journey they are. They might need
for overnight.
Some of our really little guys need maybe a midnight potty break or an early morning before you get out of bed. But if you're tiring them out, then you're going to have good luck with it.
Yeah. So people that need that little extra help and more than just some instruction, we say, well, bring them on down to puppy camp. Every time you say lather, rinse, repeat, it reminds me of Phoebe on Friends when she sings the shampoo song.
I don't know any Friends references.
Needed. Anyway, so we just had Titan in for puppy camp and he was hilarious because his mom carried him in. And I was like, okay, well, he's a doodle. He's going to be
standard.
He's going to be a big dude. And she carried him in and she's like, I really need him to walk on the leash. And so I was like, okay, wait, we're not ready for formal walking, but we're going to get him used to the leash. I kind of was like, okay, well, whatever you need. Well, then she left and we put a leash on him to take him back. And he splooted and completely flattened himself, pancaked on the floor. And he's like, I said, oh, that's what she means. Like, she couldn't get him to move.
Yeah.
So for him, one of the things that was most important to her was some leash walking, actually walking on the leash. And she just texted me and said, oh my gosh, they couldn't believe it at the vet how well he does on the leash now.
Oh man.
After 2 weeks with us. So of course we did all the other things as well, but he's now very familiar with the leash. We had most recently little Josie, who her poor mom was just wore out.
Boston Terrier.
Yeah, she's a Boston Terrier.
Oh, she was cute.
Oh, man. Her lips. Ooh, she's a little cute patootie.
Her teeth were all tucked up in.
I was like, does this dog even have teeth? She's
Yeah.
so stinking little and cute. But she's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
That shit. Yep.
And so her mom's like, I have to play with her for 5 hours before she'll crash out. I'm like, listen, girl, there's no way that little baby puppy needs 5 hours of entertaining before she'll crash out. Well, we got her in. And I was like, I'm sorry I ever doubted you.
Eh. She did get some good, like, couple of days in, she was, like, sleeping really hard.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, "Oh, okay. I
Well,
can
so
rest
what we
now."
found was it was more doing some focused kind of play with her and really interacting in a focused way intentionally.
Yeah.
And then showing her after we do this, then it's nap time.
Yeah.
Really got her in that routine of shutting off and resting. So,
Yeah, and there's a big difference between, like, your puppy is out in the same space with you, hanging out or playing with toys, keeping themselves busy, and the difference between that and you are intentionally spending the time, you are engaging with a toy, you're looking at your dog, you're talking to them, maybe you're giving them some basic commands while you're playing. That's the main difference that we see. If they're engaged with you, they're going to tire out a lot more quickly. That's another kind of key. People just kind of want to let them go to their own devices like Cloudy and let them out in the house. And it's just a little too soon for that. Just like you wouldn't do that with a 2-year-old human child. They would have the fork in the electrical socket. And
I know a 3-year-old human child that you can't leave her unattended for a second.
happens to be my very own offspring.
I mean, she's got my lipstick out.
I'm living it, people. I'm in it. I'm in the shit.
She's in the shit. God, it's the same though. And this is another thing we talk about is we can't be expecting more out of a puppy than we do out of human children, right?
Yeah.
So, we don't leave human children alone and just say, go entertain yourself, you 2-year-old or you 1.5-year-old kid.
Mhm.
Have fun. I think I put the knives up. Don't get too stabby.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't do that with humans. And so we got to remember that you can't expect more out of your dog than you do humans. So if it's not appropriate for a toddler to be left alone, it's probably also not appropriate for a puppy to be left alone.
Well, there's a huge difference between being left alone and being left out with a ton of freedom unsupervised. So we do have a lot of people too that are very conflicted about using the crate.
Yeah.
And they feel like it's inhumane or not fair, or, they struggle with that. And, we say if your dog's getting their needs met, all the other hours of the day, then they need that safety in that enclosed space
and the rest.
Yeah, and they need their rest to settle down. And I mean, hell, their little brains need to grow. They need to sleep.
Well, when you have a 9-month-old baby and it's nap time, it's nap time. Like, I'm not going to ask the baby if it needs to take a nap, right? I'm not going to ask the baby, do you want to take a nap? No, of course they don't.
Damn, you're hardcore.
I mean, seriously.
I'm putting that kid down.
Go now.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, like you're in charge. Yes, it's a dog. And yes, it's a precious little pumpkin. But listen, there's a lot of stuff to feel guilty about. There's a lot of things to worry about. Putting your dog down in a crate for a nap, it's the safest place. It's going to help them. It's going to help you long term. Again, we need a whole podcast on the crate.
Yeah.
But we can't expect more out of dogs than we expect out of humans.
Well, there's definitely something to be said for some healthy separation at that age too. So we see dogs that are getting some alone time in their crate. They're used to keeping themselves busy, and it's not a stressful event when they're left alone. That's so essential for them to be adults. We just saw a dog today that wasn't crate trained. He's 8 months old and spent a lot of time with his mom. I don't think it was a work from home situation, but I think there was just always somebody home because of their work schedules. And they didn't really need to crate train him. He's a little bit of a unicorn puppy. He wasn't super destructive. And now the situation has changed where he has to use a crate, and
he's having meltdowns in it.
Yeah.
He's struggling.
Yeah, he struggles to be away from his mama. So we don't want to unnecessarily stress our dogs out because we feel bad about leaving them. I'll just say that with a huge disclaimer.
Yeah, for sure.
So
All of this to say, when do we start puppy training? The moment that you have your dog. Any interaction you have with a dog, you're training it. You're training it a routine. You're training it what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, where to go potty. Can I put my mouth on you? Should I put my feet on you? All of these things. So, in our opinion, we want to train them from the get-go the appropriate things or how they can live with us successfully. Like I said, I don't care where your dog goes potty, but your dog needs to be shown where to go regardless of whether it's on a pee pad or it's a grass pad or it's outside. They don't just come out knowing these things. So I think a lot of trainers are missing the boat on waiting for obedience training, waiting for them to be developmentally ready for obedience training when really we want everybody to get off on the right foot from the get-go. I mean, for heaven's sakes, when a lady's pregnant, they go take birthing classes and baby classes and they read books and they do all these things, right? Why can't we do that for puppies too? Make everybody's lives easier.
We have some people that do. We had that awesome lady that called, I think last week, that did she get a miniature dachshund? Was it a standard?
Yeah, miniature dachshund.
She was like, I researched this. I know exactly what I was getting. I really don't want to mess it up. And like, we were like, oh, thank you.
I know.
Yeah. So some folks do that. And obviously life happens and you just kind of, maybe you acquired a dog that you weren't planning on. That happens to a lot of our clients. And either way, we're here to help you.
Yeah, we'll come to you or you can come to us, but
knowledge is power.
Either way, we will sniff that puppy breath and smooch that little puppy face.
Oh, yeah.
And snuggle it and
it's the last really cute
send it home
that
with you.
Smooched. I mean, Josie is the most recent one I can think of that I was
I'm obsessed with her. You really liked Weller. Yeah. We got a lot of puppies, guys. It's puppy Palooza, seriously. So if you get a puppy or somebody else you know gets a puppy, just call us. We can help you. We'll get you on the right track. It'll make your life so much easier. And then that foundation, whether you lay it at home, kind of with our guidelines and our suggestions, or we start it for you at puppy camp, when the next phase comes and that dog is, 5, 6, 7 months old and you're ready for the next thing, it is so much easier.
Yeah.
So much easier. So,
yeah, you're going to spend a lot less time and money doing the training on the front end than trying to fix the stuff later that you didn't take care of when they were cute babies.
100%. And plus, I got to get my fix because I'm not going to get a puppy.
No.
I want to play with yours. So please bring it to us. Thanks for listening to this episode of Love 'Em and Lead 'Em. If you want to hear more, be sure to check us out every other week on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at Dog Training Camp USA Louisville and check out our website at dogtrainingcamplouisville.com for more information on our training and other services.
If you need help with your dog, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find our contact details in the show notes.
We'll smell you later.